Strap on your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we are broadcasting tonight from the South Mountain of Phoenix, Arizona. It's hot and smoldering here. Oh man, it's been 110, 112 in the shade. So I don't even have to be doing anything and I'm melting. I'm your host, TessaTNT. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight live on Spreaker.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Tumblr, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. So tonight, I have a awesome, very good friend on the line. She's also a psychic medium. I was trying to find her bio, but I don't have it here, but she's amazing. So tonight we're going to be talking about different random things under the umbrella of the paranormal, such as astral travel, visions, the paranormal, and places we want to hunt, and the Simpsons. Hey Mia, welcome, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you for having me. The Simpsons. I love that.
The Simpsons. How have you been?
I've been good. Everything's good. I've been waiting for our crop to show signs of light, but it's supposed to get really cold here. I don't know if you... Oh yeah, you're in Arizona, but
Well, I
here it's
heard
gonna get really cold.
Yeah, I heard a friend of mine, well, I didn't hear her, but I saw on Facebook that she posted like the weather calendar, and this Tuesday or Wednesday up near Denver it's supposed to snow, but I mean, Colorado weather, it's insane.
Yes, especially southern Colorado, because we're like in the crosshairs, right? So we can get a storm from, Denver, but we can also get like a monsoon from Arizona or like the tail end of it, like rain and stuff. It's really weird.
Indeed. So
Very
being,
strange.
my brain friedness right now at this point in my life, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into being a psychic medium?
Sure. So I think I've always been a little off since I was a
I feel you,
kid,
sister.
but yeah, yes, exactly. But I think what really spiked my first major awakening and shift, and for me to like question everything, was living in an extremely haunted house. And I'm not talking just like a ghost, it was like there was a portal. And my mom didn't tell me for years, but apparently, before we moved in the house, someone had like a drifter had stayed in the bedroom that I was living in and did some voodoo stuff. There was pieces of hair and black
Jeez.
candles and animal bones in the bedroom. My mom didn't tell me this for literally years. I didn't even know. So I think somebody did some hooky dooky stuff and opened some sort of a weird portal in that bedroom, not to mention it being so close to a reservation of a very small, but previously very violent tribe. Not a nice tribe. I mean, I have nothing against the tribe, but their ancestors were supposedly very dark and killed a lot of other tribes and stuff. But
Were they cannibals?
I mean, I don't know. I've just heard stories of them killing like Navajos and other peoples, other indigenous people. And they had a vibe to them. I will say that. I mean, I think all natives have their own vibe. Part of it is because a lot of them are very awakened, and they the ones that the ones that believe in the legends that they're taught when they're young are usually very open.
I keep hearing Zuni. The Zuni tribe? I don't know.
Zuni tribe?
Zuni?
No, these were the Yaquis.
Yaquis?
These were the
Okay.
Yaquis. It was not a very big tribe. It's an old tribe, but they're not a very big tribe, and they are not known for being the friendliest in the past. I'm not talking about within the past, 60 to 100 years, but apparently that tribe was, I forgot the stories, but I remember hearing them when I was young and learning about them a little bit. But they would would have their powwow nights very close to my house. Like the only thing that was separating us is like just like about a block away. And so I would hear them every Friday night. And then every single time they did it, not only was it the noise, but I felt like spirits coming into my room. Like, because I swear they would push them into my room, like it was coming in my direction. And I would feel the energies, and I was super sensitive and intuitive anyway. I mean, somebody who isn't an intuitive person or is closed off may not have been as affected as I was, but I could never sleep like on certain nights of the month or year, or even like weeks sometimes, because I would hear them not only being extremely loud, which I'm all for cultural tradition, but I wish they would switch directions sometimes and send these, I don't know.
Volume.
Yeah, they were awake. Well, they were awakening and connecting with their ancestors. And I feel like they would all come through, and I would feel them like all in the air, and it was just intense. It was intense. But yeah, so then I encountered that, and I just opened up more and more. And then I dated this guy who was basically possessed when I was very young. It was like my first boyfriend, and I was with him for like 3 years. And so I had to deal with his like demonic crap. That I've only dealt with demonic stuff like maybe for sure about 2 or 3 times. I mean, not times, but in instances that may have, I don't know, like I'll say about 3 times for sure I dealt with demonic stuff. I don't think it's that common, but
No.
But yeah, so I had to learn psychic protection. And then I had so many people around me that had died, and I learned that I could talk to them. And yeah, that's how my journey kind of began. I think everyone kind of is the same as far as their abilities. It's just a matter of how much do they want to know and how much do they have to know also. Like I was kind of pushed into it. So yeah, like yourself. I mean, you dealt with a lot of stuff. I know you were saying as a child with certain entities.
I don't know, we were kind of talking about that last night too. Like everybody's got their different gifts and different reasons to be here, and sometimes people don't, well, most times people don't understand it because they're not taught, and it can feel like you're tormented or cursed, or there's something wrong with you because you never fit
Crazy
in.
is the big one.
Yeah, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, batshit crazy. But we're all here for a reason, and a lot of the things that I go through is death. So for the longest time, I'm like, am I like a helper of the bringer of death or an angel of death? Like, what the hell is going on here? But I think it's to be here for those that are passing, and for those around them. And at first, like, I felt like I was cursed, and like somehow I was causing this, but I just realized, later on in life that death is a big part of life. This is kind of like the cocoon portion of us, and then and we go on to the other side, and who knows what happens next. Reincarnation,
I'm still hearing
so on
that
and so
crackling.
Forth. Yeah, and I'm wondering, I'm glad you brought that up. If our listeners can hear that, could you let me know? I might do some troubleshooting on break. My computer's been really weird since I've been down here and just opened it up 2 days ago.
I know where you're at.
Yeah.
No, I know where you are, and that's like a high voltage kind of area in general. Like, I don't know, a lot of activity. It could be paranormal related, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, especially with my grandpa just passing away, and then shortly after that, my sister's dog had to be put down about 3 days later. I mean, it's just been insane. But yeah, this area for sure, you hear and see all kinds of stuff. I'm constantly looking for UFOs. Haven't seen one yet down here.
Yeah, that's not too far from where I grew up, and that was a whole nother thing, being I can't even, there's just so many. There's so much. I feel like there's some type of a energy thing there. We'll just call it a thing. I don't want to say it extraterrestrial, but definitely a thing. A guy, this is really fascinating, but there was a guy who was kind of he was like in my age bracket and kind of not really in my friendship circle, but like connected to my friendship circle type of thing. He was in the extended circle of my friendships growing up, and it's very strange. He left his house one day. He started getting kind of weirder and weirder. He was kind of a skater kid, right? A skateboarder. Apparently he was a pretty good one, and he kind of knew some people that I knew, and one day, I don't remember what year it was, but I think it was 2007 or 8, I think. And he was just started to get really weird, really quiet, and he got really open and started like talking all this spiritual stuff, and people thought he was crazy. And he literally one day disappeared, walked off into South Mountain area, and just was never seen or heard from again.
Weird.
Like looking
So
for
he,
aliens. Looking for aliens. I forgot that part. He was looking for extraterrestrials, and he literally said he was going home and he left. Nobody found him, but I believe he was naked at the time or something. I wish I will look up his name, and it just came to me weird. I had a flash of it. I think it was Brandon or something. Brandon Dooley. I don't know why that came. Maybe that's not it. But yeah. It very strange. He disappeared in South Mountain without a trace. Supposedly going to look for aliens. This is a true story.
Yeah, and South Mountain was near where the Phoenix Lights were seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you hear about people going missing all the time in the Superstition Mountains. But yeah, there's just this energy. I'm constantly looking over at the mountains. There's something there. It was pretty interesting when we were going up South Mountain, and it was about probably 4 years ago. My aunt and my cousin Latanya was down here, and we went out to the lookout point, and we were using the ghost box and everything, trying to communicate with her cousin that had gone missing. In Washington, it's actually a trail of something, not Trail of Tears, but where missing women go missing all the time. But on the way back down, we saw something silver down in one of the crevasses of the mountain, and it looked to me like the bottom of a car. I don't remember if we reported it or not, but that's why I was asking, did he go on foot or did he go in a vehicle? He just walked out.
Yeah, and I just found it. He was not a skateboarder. He was a I guess. Hold on. I think this is the one, but I'm not sure. I'm looking. They may. Okay, I think they did find his body eventually. I think they did find his body, supposedly. But I think I want to say it's the story is Brian Histand, something like that. I want to say that's him, but I have to look it up and double check because I'm not sure. It doesn't quite look like the same guy in this thing. There's an episode of I think it's called Disappeared or Without a Trace or something like that on Investigation Discovery, and there was an episode about him. And at the time the episode was made, they hadn't found his body yet, so I'm not sure if that's the same one. But it was just interesting how like his behavior and how he was acting in the days before his disappearance. He was like, and then he just up and went in the middle of the desert and disappeared. Like, I guess they found his body, but that's strange still, even if they found a body. That's why, are you just going to walk out in the middle of the desert and disappear?
Well,
And say you're looking for aliens as well.
Yeah, it's for their
Wow, it's
damn
really,
allergies.
really buzzing.
That is so weird. I'm sorry, you guys. I would have brought like my regular microphone, but I'm just using my Logitech because that's what I usually use in the after party, and I accidentally, unintentionally used it during the show once, and everybody was like, "Wow, the sound is great." So I thought I'd bring this, but I think I need to clean the port or unplug it and put it in a different port. Because I don't think it did this last night, but it's going to be a temporary thing because I'm not going to be always using this mic, but I do apologize if it is irritating. I'm sorry, guys.
Let me take my headphones off and make sure that it's not on my
Well, in the
end. I
chat
don't think
room,
so.
no, in the chat room they're saying they hear it too. And I said, while I talk or while Mia talks, and they said, when I'm talking they can hear it. So it's definitely my
Yeah,
mic because
because
I can hear you clearly. You sound perfect.
I'll put mine on mute just to double check.
But yeah, it is interesting. There is all kinds of things happening here. The other night I was out there by myself because we have a TV on the back porch, so we sit out there and smoke, have safety meetings, and watch different shows. And my mom doesn't like paranormal stuff, so I'll wait till she goes to bed to turn it on because she doesn't like to watch it. She surprised me the other day and actually watched some clips of the Watts house in Colorado because I told her, I was like, even on the cops videos when they go in there, you can hear the woman and the children laughing and talking. You can also see the oldest, I think it's the oldest girl. It could have been the younger one, but one of the girls runs down the stairs and holds on to the banisters. And there's also a point in the video where one of the officers is at the top of the stairs, and you can see one of the little girl ghosts kind of hugging her leg, you know how kids do, to their mama or to somebody they trust. But that house is so haunted, and so she watched that, and it wasn't like one of the good videos where they filter the sound, you can hear it well, and they also do subtitles at times. But I could hear it because I'm used to listening to that kind of stuff, but my mom really couldn't. She's like, I can't even understand what it's saying.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to hear everything you're saying. It's like in and out. Sometimes it's like kind of like not staticky, and then sometimes it's like really staticky.
Can you hear me now? I just unplugged and changed
I
the
can hear you.
ports. Is that any better or still the same?
It's the same.
I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to turn off the fan and see if that helps.
Okay.
I don't think that's any better. I can see it's in red. There's something going on with my plugs or ports or something. During the break, I'll take it apart and use some rubbing alcohol or something on it, and hopefully that helps.
Okay.
I'm gonna move it over here too.
Freaking weird. It just got better for a second there. Now it's good.
Okay, I just moved the cord.
Oh, now it's
that again.
It's on, but it's less. It's much less.
Okay, hopefully that works. Sorry about that, guys. All right, I think we got it. I'm not gonna touch anything else.
Still a little staticky.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what to do.
It's a little better though. It's a little better though. I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Okay, so trying to remember what we were talking about. Well, as far as you and like how you began, didn't you have a rough start from the get-go with your birth and delivery and such?
Yes, my mom got into a really bad car accident when she was pregnant with me, and she broke, well, her awakening, I think, happened when she was pregnant with me. I mean, she's always been kind of off too, but I think like when you have a near death experience, that's one way to, I mean, it's not the best way, but it's one way people will have an awakening um, of sorts, I think. And she broke like her back and her ribs and her leg and a bunch of stuff when she was pregnant with me. And then I basically was born dead for a few seconds or minutes. I don't really know. But I feel like that could have experienced in the womb awakening thing. I've always wondered if like maybe that was like kind of my awakening too, was in the womb, which would be very interesting. Or like when I was born kind of dead, basically. So I've always wondered if that was kind of like a thing. They had to do an emergency, like I was premature and they had to get me out. I had suffocated myself. Dancing, I think, or I was trying to hang myself in the womb because I didn't want to come back to this planet. And they're like, yes, you have to go. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. And then they're like, yes, you have to go. And I'm like, damn it, fine. I don't know.
I don't want to be born in hell.
Right. This is like, it's like being born in an airport. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Earth is like an airport. It's just like, you know, a transit place. Earth is like Arizona. It's a nice place to visit, but you don't want to live there.
Yeah, usually, even though it's so dry and hot anyways, usually it's really green. But this year is the first time I've seen where even the palm trees and the desert things besides the cactuses are all brown and dying, and it's insane. I heard it's the driest year here in 12 years.
Makes sense. Not surprising with it being 2020 and all. So the Simpsons, okay, so I'm aware that yes, they talked about like how Donald Trump was going to be president and this and that. But what I wasn't aware of, and I knew that they had some sort of a virus, only it came from Japan. It was like they called it the Osama virus or something like that. But what I did not know is in the same episode, a lot of these deals were in the same episode, and it's like the 2020 episode. They've got killer bees, like those murder hornets. They've got this virus, and then they've got like riots all in one episode. And I'm like, I had no idea. I thought these were all like separate episodes. So I'm like, so this is literally like one episode of The Simpsons here, 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing. It seems like The Simpsons have predicted so many things. So if any of our listeners that are listening right now and are in the Spreaker chat room, put down any references to The Simpsons that you can recall where they have made future predictions, because I know there's been so many. It's insane.
Yes. That is true. It makes you wonder sometimes if some of this is by design or if we kind of manifest things into existence, like with science fiction, how so many things have come to pass from science fiction. I always say this, I'm like, it's crazy how much, truth there has been and how many theories have been, that were fiction have come to pass. You have to just wonder. And then there's the whole time travel thing. Now, could all of this just be because of time travel? That could be like the solution for all of this. Every conspiracy theory could literally just be that in our not so distant future, they figure out a way to go back in time and this stuff gets predicted. You never know. I can't deny that could be a possibility.
Well, and it makes you wonder, like, who's writing for The Simpsons, for them to have predicted so many things. And you're talking about time travel, but then there's also CERN and messing with the God particle and doing their own little mini collisions in this metal tube that's supposed to protect us. I don't think that's going to work, and you shouldn't be messing with stuff like that. And so many different things have changed, and it all started with Mandela, which is why it's called the Mandela effect. It's changed a lot of stuff. And it's amazing that some people can be on the same wavelength as you as far as remembering the same things, and then eventually they start to change and say, oh no, it wasn't like this, it was like this. And it's like, okay, other dimensional whoever you are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like, I forgot what I was gonna say, but it was interesting.
You were
And
talking
I
about
was
time
in deep,
travel.
yes, I was talking about time travel and I was in super deep thought. And then you said something about the Mandela effect, and I'll come back to it. I'll figure it out.
I'm
I was in
sorry.
deep thought. It's okay.
Yeah, you were talking about time travel, like changing the timeline and making these things the way they are. But if you can't remember, it's okay. I
Oh,
do that
yes. Oh,
too.
yeah. It was kind of off the wall, but Matt Groening. So, for all the conspiracy theorists out there, I love looking at them, but I'm very discerning as to what I believe and what I do not believe. However, I do not only are conspiracy theories, some of them are almost 100% true, and some of them are just political and whatnot. But supposedly, Matt Groening went to Epstein's Island. He's one of the Epstein guys. So, that's fascinating.
For
And he's
sure.
the
It's like,
creator
who
of.
all is on this list? My mom broke my heart and told me that Tom Hanks was on there, and I'm like, no way. I don't believe it. I won't believe it till I see
He
it.
was 17 times at least, and that's when he was on his plane to Epstein's Island. That's not counting the times he probably flew his own plane. That's the one thing that is missing from the equation, because a lot of these celebrities, most of them have their own planes or access to a private plane.
Yeah, it just broke
And
my heart. I'm like, no way.
I know, childhood ruined, right?
Yes. Denied.
But I'll never say 100% that he was, you know what I mean? It's pretty he does have a victim supposedly that speaks out against him, one girl. Um and let me look up her name. I know it, but I forgot it right now. She could be, though. She's what she's saying is kind of outlandish though, so it's very possible that that it's not true too, just by what she has said. And I'm trying to find her name here. He's also, right now though, it's really weird with him. Like, he's trying to get a bunch of good PR probably because of this stuff. And he went and got citizenship in, I think it was Greece, and supposedly he's
I
in
heard it was New Zealand.
supposedly he was arrested in Australia and did a movie there in Australia. But I think he got a. See, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Like Sarah Ruth Ashcroft is the girl who spoke out on Twitter and a bunch of other things, other platforms, against Tom Hanks. Sarah Ruth Ashcraft. But what she said basically is pretty far out there, but I will never like completely discredit any victim. But what she basically says is that she was sold by her parents to Tom Hanks, which is hard to wrap your head around, but I can't ever discredit a victim. So that's the conspiracy deal on Tom Hanks. He is trying to get a lot of good PR right now. And the funny thing is like, I saw like Ellen DeGeneres wearing a shirt that said "Run Forrest Run," making a weird video about like using like a deck of playing cards, but like holding up a card and it's not that card type of a thing. It seemed like she was talking in some sort of a code. I can understand. I mean, it's totally weird. Like some of these videos of celebrities lately, like the whole Britney Spears thing is the other thing. I've been saying for years, like has she has no rights whatsoever, and she literally just went to trial not too long ago to try to get her rights back, but was denied. And her dad doesn't want her or anyone talking about this publicly, but she actually filed an objection over his deal, and she said that it's the public's right to know, what's actually going on. And her, I forget what it's called, conservatorship. There we go.
So she's saying her dad was a part of it too?
Well, she lost the rights to her children full time, to make decisions in her life. Basically, she lost all of her power. She lost all of her rights after her whole little breakdown thing in like, I think it was 2008 or something. And her father is basically in control of her life, her finances, everything else. And she wants that conservatorship taken away, but was denied just recently. And so she's making these really, really strange videos on Instagram and stuff. Like she looks completely out of it. In my opinion, they have her on all kinds of antipsychotics and stimulants in order to get her to make money for them and work in Vegas as basically a slave. And that whole, like, "I'm a slave for you" song, like, I've been saying for years that that's not wrong. Like, literally, that is the most scary song in the entire world because it's true. She's like a slave of the industry. And anyone who can take money from her will. And she has, to top it all off, she has her rights taken away completely. Her father is in control of her life completely. She has no say as to what she does with her finances. Recently, it said that she accidentally burned down her gym. She might be bipolar. It's possible, but I honestly don't think that she's as crazy as the media made her out to be. I think anyone would go crazy in her position with that type of fame.
And you look at anybody that was in the Mickey Mouse Club, like most of those guys did not come out too well. They all have different issues and disorders.
Absolutely. I mean, a large majority of them, yeah. And then the ones that don't have issues, I feel like now they have become, like the cycle of abuse.
Yeah, the prey becomes the predator.
Yeah. I think that some of the ones, like maybe perhaps Justin Timberlake or Christina Aguilera, I think the ones that made it out and survived may now be kind of like the controllers, They're just stepping their way up the ladder because I feel like some amount of power and trauma also. I learned something fascinating, which is trauma for some people, for like traumatic events or abuse, can actually cause psychopathy. And like I was actually watching this guy like reading Carol Baskin.
Did you hear she's going to be on Dancing with the Stars? Oh my gosh.
No freaking no way. That's hilarious. I don't ever watch that crap, but that's just
me neither.
Funny.
But when I heard that it was
it's
funny,
fun to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're talking about, well, she's definitely got to dance to "Eye of the Tiger," and I'm just like, boy, out of all the people you can imagine being on Dancing with the Stars, this is not one. But continue what you were saying with her.
Oh, she should dance to I Saw a Tiger.
Right?
And a tiger saw a man, or whatever, however it goes. But yeah, I was gonna say, so traumatic events can cause psychopathy, and I was watching this body language interpreter. I know there's another word for it, but um, interpret Carol Baskin and her mannerisms to see how she was. And for this particular body language interpreter, he said she checked all the boxes for psychopathy because she literally, the way she talked about, she was victimized as a teenager, and the way she talked about it, he's like, her facial expressions and the way her tone and everything is like it's almost like over such a traumatic event, she seems like a psychopath, basically, talking about this traumatic event that happened to her. And he said undoubtedly that event could have actually caused her to develop some kind of type of psychopathy and lack of a conscience. So it's very possible she could have killed her husband, and even the way she talked about it and everything else, like, it's very fascinating. So I wasn't aware of that, though. And that makes sense because I know a person who's kind of like that. She went through a traumatic event, and she's it numbed her quite a bit. Let's say that, more than most. I mean, I think that type of stuff affects everyone differently, but I didn't know that psychopaths are born usually and not, but they can have psychopathic tendencies and negative things. So I'm saying, like, these Disney people like Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera who've actually made it beyond the whole psychotic breakdown thing, and have become the most successful, we'll say, in the bunch as of right now. Well, I mean, as far as the older ones, I don't know. There's newer ones, but we don't know because they're still in their 20s. We don't know how, they haven't hit 29 yet. They're not crazy yet. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Because usually it happens around 29. They all have a psychotic breakdown, like 28, 29. We'll see in another 3 years about the other ones. But I feel like maybe because of the trauma and fame and probably the abuse that they probably were subjected to by someone somewhere at some point in their young career, they may have actually turned to have some type of psychopathic tendencies, which would be interesting.
Psychosis. But it is strange. Like you were talking about with, trauma. It could be sexual, it could be physical. Really doesn't matter. It still affects you. Some people go one way or the other. Some people can become very free flowing with their sexual activity, and some people go the other way, where they have to be in a meaningful relationship or whatnot in order to be able to.
They have trust issues. They can go that way. They can go that way where they give themselves freely away and they have low self-esteem, or they close off. They close off and they only really open up, over a long period of time with very specific people.
It is not good. Yeah, the whole Brittany Murphy thing too. Okay, so I thought for the longest time it could have been her mom that did it, but the more I'm looking at this case and looking at the people involved, her husband, holy shit, was super freaking creepy and continues to still this day be creepy.
Yeah. Didn't he die?
Not that I know of. I just watched a thing on him the other day where he's taking them through on a tour of the house and the death room and all this other stuff, and just the way he's talking. And
no, he died soon after, and no, he died. He died as well. I don't know how soon after, but he was number one suspect in my mind, as well. I 100% agree. He was number one suspect. The whole thing is suspicious, though. Like, they said it could have been because of mold in their house, but then they found, like, what did they find? Like rat poisoning in her shampoo. I almost wonder if one of her family members put a hit on him afterwards, but I mean, he had bad health anyway. I mean, he was older and he didn't take care of himself and he did drugs and they both did drugs. I don't know. It's all suspicious because the other thing is what if it's like a wild card and these actors, actresses, musicians, they're all owned by the industry, right? So what if there was a hit on her because like they thought they could make more money in some way from it, or money would go back to them or something like that, or if he died, then I'm not sure. There's a million different ways it could go. But yes, he was my first thought, and then he died, and then I'm like, you know, who done it?
Jason said maybe he forgot that he put the rat poison in the shampoo.
That's what I was thinking too. Honestly. I thought maybe his was an accidental death, or maybe his really was because I forget how he died, but I'm gonna look at his cause of death, supposedly pneumonia and severe anemia. And I'm not sure what her cause of death was ruled as. Dun, dun, dun. Pneumonia and anemia and multiple drug intoxication. The drugs being rat poisoning in her shampoo. It was a high amount of rat poisoning too, if I recall.
That is just so messed up. She was such a bright
It's
light. I really liked her a lot.
So did I. I
She was
remember
so
in Girl
unique.
Interrupted. I loved that movie so much. That was like my teenage. In the 80s there was movies like 16 Candles and these wholesome movies,
The Lost Boys.
But The Lost Boy, well, I guess that wasn't that wholesome, but like Girl Interrupted was like for the 90s teenagers or whatever. It was a good movie.
Didn't that have her and Angelina Jolie in it?
Yes, and that was my favorite role of Angelina Jolie's ever. I got this sample from that movie. Like, I want to put it in a song. Um, it's so funny because it's when Winona Ryder's in it as well. So Winona Ryder is taken out of the mental ward by her boyfriend, and she's in the car, and her boyfriend's like, they're eating grapes off the wallpaper, okay? They're insane. It's just the funniest sample ever. I don't know. They're eating grapes off the wallpaper.
There's some sort of crazy. Definitely crazy. So going back to The Simpsons, so you're saying that this newest, I don't know what they call it, vision or foretelling of the future, that was to do with the COVID virus and such?
Yeah, I forget what year it came out, but all in one episode, they had this virus that came from Japan, not China, and they called it like the Osani virus. And then soon after that, there were these killer bees. It was kind of like very, very, very parallel to the year 2020. It's just very interesting. Oh, um, the the other thing, because I will forget, the the Viper Room. I want to go to the Viper Room and do an investigation. And I just found out, I don't know if the episode already came out, but uh what's it called? The paranormal show, Zach Baggins, what's it called again?
Ghost Adventures?
There we go. I don't know why. I just had a brain fart, but Ghost Adventures, they either did an episode or they're about to release an episode about the Viper Room. That's where River Phoenix died, and this goes back into the Hollywood stuff too. So Johnny Depp, okay, so Viper Room used to be like, but I think the oldest thing that
Okay, you said the oldest thing, and then I couldn't hear anything else.
Okay, so the oldest thing that it was a like a gangster hangout. And so like some famous gangsters, it was called the Melody Room. It was like a jazz kind of club for gangsters. So Bugsy Siegel and Mickey Cohen would hang out there. So there's probably a lot of gangster type ghosts that probably go back to the Viper Room. And it was a bunch of other different businesses over time. And I think in 1992 or 1993, it became the Viper Room. And, you know, all these famous bands played there. River Phoenix died, and one of the original owners is Johnny Depp. And a fascinating thing is the other partner that Johnny Depp owned the Viper Room with disappeared, just vanished without a trace, and was never found. A body was never found. He just disappeared, which is weird.
And who was that again? I'm sorry.
Johnny Depp's partner, and I'm not sure. I have to look up his name again, but the guy that owned 50% with Johnny Depp of the Viper Room just disappeared like in 2001, I think.
Dang.
Yeah. So that's weird. And River Phoenix died there, obviously, and there was another guy who, I'm not sure if he died, but supposedly it is haunted, and there are employees that have worked there that have talked about it being haunted and the bathroom being haunted and all this stuff. So I just want to do an investigation there. I think it would be really, really cool.
I would love to go there. And there's a little bit of kind of back and forth in the chat room saying, you know, it was Ghost Nation or other teams, which a lot of different teams have gone in there, but Mea had specifically said Mr. Baggins, I won't say his first name that I gave him, but Jason in the chat room was saying The Simpsons has also predicted Ivanka Trump for president in 2028.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't kept up with The Simpsons, but that would be very fascinating. So the guy that was the co-owner, his name was Anthony Fox. He went missing during a time when a financial dispute related to the property was in full swing. His disappearance has never been solved, but his car was located sometime later in Santa Clara, California. And I almost wonder, because these Hollywood people, you know, like, what if
like
Johnny Depp...
Yeah, it's kind of like their own gang, you know?
It really is.
Italian mafiosos, you got the Irish gangsters, you have, you know, the Bloods, the Crips, whatever. What about Hollywood? I mean, these guys are insane. Hollywood.
Call them Hollywood.
Hollywood.
The gang of weirdos. Hollywood. But yeah, so I always wonder, because Johnny Depp is an interesting cat. See, like, I don't know. There's some conspiracy around him. I'm like Switzerland on him. I don't know. Obviously.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, at his level, he's got to be weird as hell. Like, they all have to be weird as hell.
Okay, first off, he's from Kentucky. Just kidding. I just say that because my grandpa was from Kentucky, and that guy was an ass. But I've always loved Johnny Depp, but then you hear all these different things coming out about him, and it just, in the end, it kind of all adds up. There's Hollywood, there's Scientology, there's Pizzagate, like there's
The fact that he played Hunter S. Thompson and he was close friends with him, and Hunter S. Thompson has been to Bohemian Grove, has admittedly killed people. And then they talked about Andochrome as well. Hunter S. Thompson did, and so they did also in the movie in which he played Hunter S. Thompson. So I don't know. That's a whole other fascinating. So what if he did kill his partner? Because there was a money dispute, He could be a murderer too. He might have had him whacked.
Oh, there was a comment and then he erased it, so maybe he's retyping it because autocorrect or something. But hopefully Jojo the Slap Boy comes back and lets us know, what the hell were you just saying? Because I was just reading it and about to, relay the message, but now I can't because it's gone. But I mean, they're a big moneymaker for Hollywood, and yeah, they make a lot of money. But imagine how much Hollywood and all these different people are making. And, holy shit, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank right now. As soon as I start to say the name, it goes away again. Corey Haim, Corey Feldman. Both these kids were abused in Hollywood, passed around basically. One came out and told about it, and the other one, relied on drugs and so on and so forth to deal with it and ended up dying from it. But I think it was Corey Feldman as the one that has, the two Corys, the one that has been out there and saying things as far as these people are doing it. Michael Jackson, we were really good friends. He never did anything to me, but there's one particular name that he refused to say because he was so afraid had he said this name.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. But he's not the only one. There's so many people in this league. It's insane.
I think it was Steven Spielberg, and here's why. The conspiracy people have been saying that the one name that he did name, which was Charlie Sheen, we called that I don't know how many years ago. We're why isn't he naming Charlie Sheen? It has to be Charlie Sheen. It has to be one of them. And then he finally named Charlie Sheen, right? And I think Charlie Sheen did something wrong because now all of a sudden he has HIV and he's being thrown under the bus. It could all be lies. It could all just be a game of let's throw everyone under the bus, because I feel like Hollywood, they all have blackmail on each other. I feel like in order to get into their little club, they have to do dark stuff. So they have blackmail on you. So if you step out of line, they can use it against you. I mean, it's sick. That's so sick. The things they have initiations and stuff. I'm not saying, I won't go so far as to say they're satanic devil worshipping Illuminati, but I don't rule it out because some of the stuff has been proven to be true. I'm not talking about the satanic stuff, but I'm talking about the repetitions and the symbolism and all this other stuff. It might not be satanic, but it might be code for different levels of success in their club, and they probably do have to do some weird stuff in order to get in it. I don't doubt that. I've met elite people that are weird and they live in a different world. We'll just say that.
Jojo came back and was saying, yeah, freaking he can't type tonight or autocorrect or whatever, but he said one of his friends did private security of Depp's team, and he said that Depp is into some very strange stuff and his friend has stories to tell.
Ooh, do tell.
Yes, we want to know more. He said John Travolta is stranger than Johnny Depp, which we got a little peek of that for a little bit from that poor massage parlor guy. But I do feel sorry for his wife.
And him in drag. Those pictures.
I hope she rests in peace. Poor lady.
He really doesn't make a pretty woman. I'm just saying, he could make a pretty woman, but he needs to hire someone to professionally make him up because he did not make a pretty woman.
No. But on that note, we do have to go to our first musical break. And on this break, we have Tamara Bubble, and she's going to be singing Cute Panties. You guys might think, ooh la la, what's this about? But it's more of a empowerment of women song. Also, Out the Mud, Pringles. Then we have Roy Washington with Subliminal. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.